A powerful spiritual force pulsates all around us, offering energy and meaning to our daily lives. If we can meet the challenge of this force, our lives will expand in joy, peace, and fulfillment. The Redondo Beach Center for Spiritual Living and the Ministry of Dr. Moira Foxe presents Living Ideas. The power of new thought based on the dynamic principles of science of mind as taught by Dr. Moira Foxe. These programs are presented in order that we encompass the mastery of well-directed faith based on the inner conviction that we are surrounded by an intelligent law, which does unto each of us as we believe.
So here we are on this great good day, loving it, I'm knowing. And it is a great good day because we get to think about homecoming today. And as you know, all kinds of people at the moment in this great land and outside of it are making preparations to come home for the holidays. And there's something very warm and comforting about that thought when you think of it. I'm going home for the holidays. And a sense of returning back to what we're familiar with and from whence we came. And it's a great good thing. And as I said this morning, sometimes the thought of it is far more wonderful than the actual experience. But nevertheless, it's a beautiful, warm thought to come home for the holidays. And so we're talking about that today. We're looking at that today. We're feeling about that today. And we're seeing what it's asking of us today, homecoming. But we're not talking about homecoming along the concept of the holiday homecoming. The homecoming we're talking about is coming back home to the soul of ourselves, the truth of ourselves, the highest and the best of ourselves. To come home to our own beingness is a beautiful thing. But it's something few of us are inclined to do eagerly, willingly, and with power and with passion. Most of us come home to the soul of ourselves hissing and kicking and screaming. And you can see the scratch marks behind us from the reluctance and the resistance that we have put up. But sooner or later, we will find ourselves home in our own house of soul. And then we will realize, bliss, fullness, plenty, wholeness, well-being, oneness, unity, harmony, knowing everything is indivisible and everything is all one thing. Oh, it's worth whatever it takes to get home to the soul of ourselves. And the soul of ourselves has for its door the heart. And the key to the heart is kindness, and the lock is compassion. And when you walk through kindness and compassion, through a door of love, into the home of yourself, there is only warmth and comfort and welcome and light and well-being on the inside of that. That's true home. Very often you and I, as I was saying this morning, we feel very estranged, very, very estranged. We feel lost sometimes. We feel not at home sometimes. We sometimes wonder, why am I here? Where is this place? I think I landed in the wrong place. I don't think I was meant to come here. I think I was on my way to somewhere else. And that's a sense of estrangement that we all have from time to time, or you might call it, the dark night of the soul, or the wilderness experience, or the desert experience, or whatever you want to call it. But it's a feeling, it's an energy, it's an atmosphere. And we'll always have it until we have consciously come home to the self of ourselves. Home is like anything else. There are all kinds of homes, whether we live in a house or an apartment or whatever else. We have feelings around that home. That physical home. Some of us love to be in our homes and enjoy being in our homes and enjoy adding to our homes and enjoy expanding our homes in all kinds of wonderful ways, whether it's changing it around or redecorating or whatever that is, or really making a paradise of the garden and so on, even if your garden is a window box. We all have different feelings around our physical dwelling called home. And many of us, on the other hand, are reluctant to go home. We don't care if we go home. We actually postpone going home because we're going home to an empty, cold place, or whatever it is we think we're going home to. Or we're going home to an energy within it that's not conducive to peace of mind or happiness of heart, whatever that is. And then there are all the experiences in between that. And it goes from one pole to the other. Glorious experience of being at home, horrible experience of being at home, and all the various shades in between. And maybe all of us at some stage in our lives have gone through the whole gamut, and maybe we're starting to circle it around again, or maybe some of us have worked through it all and now we know home is home and it's a great place to be. Well, as it is on the outside, it can be the same on the inside too. Some of us can be delighted to go back home to the soul of ourselves, and some of us can be very, very reluctant to go home to the soul of ourselves, and again, the shades in between. And the reason why that might happen is because some of us, not ever fully consciously gone home to the soul, may think that if I start to look inward, if I start to journey inward, I'm going to be gravely disappointed with what I'm going to discover and what I'm going to see. And so I'm not even going to bother to go there. But again, if we are willing to go beyond all the debris that floats on top of the waters of our soul sometimes, and plunge through that and go to the depth and the light and the treasure below that, we are never disappointed. We are always so amazingly, awesomely surprised at the treasure, at the richness, at the beauty, at the grace of ourselves at the center core of our being. But many of us stop on the top with the debris and say, I can't do that, can't do that. We turn away from ourselves so very many times. We find ourselves making the journey home, and just before we get there, we turn around and go back out into the outer world of confusion and that terrible seeking all of the time to find what it is we're looking for, even when we don't know what we're looking for, because what we're looking for is to go home, and it's the last place we seem to want to go. Well, today might be the day that we change all of that for ourselves. This week is giving us the opportunity, and we have all the visual aids this week of homecoming. We have all the visual aids of putting on a good show, putting on a good party, putting on a whole whatever, for those who are coming to visit or those who are coming to stay, or for us who are going to somebody else's home who's in the process of doing all of that to celebrate Thanksgiving. This could be different for us this year. Being reminded by all the exterior things that home is a very important place to be. Home can be a very wonderful place to be. Home is a place where you can come and be nurtured and be fed and be encouraged and relax and be in joy and have some fun and so on. And if that can happen on the outside of life, can you only imagine what could happen if we did that on the inside of life? You see. And so we have to ask ourselves, what is the energy of my home? What is the energy of my home? We could look at our external home for that. What is the energy of my external home? What is the environment of my external home? What is the feeling within my external home? When people come to it, are they happy to come to it? Do they feel welcome? Are they different upon leaving it than they were when they entered in? Because you and I have the opportunity all of the time in mixing and mingling with other people to either leave them where we found them, or we could leave them in a better place for having spent time in our company, whether it's one person or several people. We have that choice, and it is given to us. We are empowered everywhere we are to raise up the energy and to leave it better for our presence there. Well, hopefully, at least we leave things the way they were, and we won't leave people feeling worse for having been in our company, rather than the better for it, and just leave it status quo. That's better than taking the energy down. So all of these things are ours to ponder and consider this week as we go about the business of opening ourselves up in gratitude for our homes, for our family, and more than anything else, to give thanks for our true home, the soul of ourselves, the experience of ourselves in life and living. Thich Nhat Hanh is one of my favorite folk. He's one of my best friends. And when he had to leave Vietnam, and he had to leave it in dire conditions, he traveled around all over heaven's half acre, never finding a physical home, really. He came to the States. That didn't work out. So eventually he ended up in France. And in France, they invited him to settle down, and they offered him all the papers that he needed and so on to make France his home. But he tells of his own sense of not really feeling at home anywhere. He couldn't feel at home in Vietnam because they wouldn't let him in to feel at home. He didn't very much feel at home here to begin with because he was not, part of the whole setup. He didn't feel at home in France to begin with either. God knows he doesn't even look French, does he? And it took a while for him to not be concerned about any of that and not to have the pain of being homeless anymore. And when he realized, he said, that his home is his life. His home is his life. He said, when he realized that, he said, I have arrived. I have come home. I no longer suffer because I have come home. There is no more suffering for me. I am home. I'm home to the self of myself. And he said he realized that home for him was simply being in the present, right here and right now, wherever I am. And he said when he reached that, what happened was he was no longer imprisoned by the past or imprisoned by the future, because he could see how his past could be healed by being in the present, and the present could touch and bless the future. So he had that sense of coming home. And everybody who's seeking a sense of themselves, a sense of life and living in the truth sense, always asks the questions, well, who am I? What am I? Where am I? The young disciple comes to the master, full of questions. Master, how do I find the answers that I seek? The master goes, how do I find the solutions that I so look for? How do I find this thing called heaven? How, before he goes to the fourth, the master says, okay. He said, the answer to all of your questions and those to come is this: you. You'll find the answers to your questions in you. You'll find the solutions that you're looking for in you. You'll find the heaven that you want to experience in you. That's the only place you're going to find all these things that you are looking for in you. Many disciples go away dissatisfied with answers like that. We all have done that. It's not what we want to hear. We want to hear some secret code that if we follow it, if we break it, or some huge spiritual practice, if we're true to it and succeed in it and so on, we'll arrive at nirvana. There has to be something that we have to do, or something we have to embark upon, or something else, you see. That simple answer, you, doesn't really bode well with many of us. Because we don't believe in the you. That's why. We don't believe that that's true. We don't believe that we are enough to bring us to our answers, to bring us to our solutions, to bring us to heaven. We don't believe that we are enough. We have the sense of inadequacy. We have the sense of being unaware sufficiently. We have the sense of lacking knowledge of some kind or another. In order to be able to come to the you The home within ourselves that provides us with all the good we so desire. So this is the week for you and for me to come home to the self if we so decide. Oh, all we have to do is to change one thing, and that's our perception. The way we see things, the way we believe things, the way we know things, the way we feel things. That's all we have to do. That's all there is to change. It's not enough to change, my dear ones. We can all change this, that, and the other. The problem is we don't stay changed. In order for the change to stick, we have to not only change, we have to transform. We have to transform, and transformation is transcendence. Move beyond and move above the norm, what has been status quo for us the way we have been. There's a little song Baba Muktananda said he learned when he was walking down a road somewhere, street somewhere in India, and he heard the children singing it. And it was, "Oh man, why have you changed? Oh man, why have you changed? The sun has not changed. The sky has not changed. The sea has not changed. The rivers have not changed. The trees have not changed. The animals have not changed. Oh man, why have you changed? From the essence of your nature, why have you changed?" And he said he never forgot it. He always remembered that little child's song. And he said, when you look around and you see it, oh yes, we've all changed in many ways. We've all changed. We've become a this and we've become a that, and we've done a this and we've done a that, and we've achieved a this and we've achieved a that, and so on and so forth. And all of us according to our understanding of what life and living is. We've doctors, dentists, thinkers, tailors, soldiers, sailors, and all the rest of it. We've all become changed into one thing or another. We have all, decided that what life is about is to go through school, get a job, and get a job that gives you enough so that you can eat, drink, and be merry, have some children, and, have what is considered to be a good life with regard to stuff and things and so on and so forth. But then one of the great saints in India called Puli says, if you just do that, what's the difference between you and the animal kingdom? Because the animal kingdom does the same thing. The animal kingdom works for their food, eats, enjoys their food, has children, and so on. And if that's all you're thinking about and doing and succeeding and achieving, what makes you any different? You are wasting your aliveness if you just do that. You cannot truly be called a fully human being if you just do that. If, she says, if you have not experienced the truth of yourself, the self of yourself, and entered into full bliss, is your living worth it? Is your living worth it? Because that's what you're here to do. To come home to yourself, to experience yourself, and to enter into the full bliss of the self of yourself. That's why you're alive, and that's why you're here. And if you haven't achieved it, then what's the difference between you and a stone, she says? It's a good question. It's a good question. I love these questions. I like to be questioned in that way. And so what is indeed the difference? What is the difference? Since every single one of us have the very same thing going for us, the truth of the being that we are, the divinity of ourselves, the ability to express and experience any good thing that we so desire, we all have that going for us. What's the difference then between us? There's only one, and thinking makes it so. Thinking makes it so. I have this opinion of myself, you have that. I have this belief about myself, you have that. I know this about myself, you know that. And the believing and the thinking and the knowing makes all the difference in the world and beyond the world. It's all about catching the fire and the light of consciousness and knowing that it doesn't matter what has been until now. All that matters is I wake up now and realize I can change everything. Everything. Every single thing in my life. If I so desire. If I have enough oomph. If I have enough passion. If I have enough commitment. If I have enough to back up my decision to transform and to transcend conditions, situations, symptoms, and whatever else is pressing me and weighing me down and keeping me from knowing the truth of myself and entering into my bliss. It's for every single person without exception. No one is limited in any way from entering into the bliss of the soul's own light, of the home that each one of us is. That door is always beckoning us. And as soon as we get to the door of love that leads into the soul of our being, the key is handed to us to unlock it. And all can enter in and come back home to ourselves. It's given to you and it's given to me, without exception. No special people in the world at all, as far as the divine is concerned. Everybody a sovereign entity. Everybody a shining light. Everybody a perfect creation. But thinking makes it so along the line of human endeavor. And so ego would have us differentiate and say, he's better than she. She's superior to that one over there. They're better than those over there. They're good, they're bad. Not so in the kingdom, because the kingdom is out beyond wrong ideas and right ideas. It's a field of enlightenment. That's what the kingdom is. And it's an energy and it's an atmosphere and it's a perception. It's a state of being. And you and I can live in that heavenly state of being when we so desire to wake up. And all we have to do is know. I don't have to take another class, read another book, go to another seminar. You just have to wake up and know it in yourself. And lo and behold, there it is, and you are at home within yourself. If you have that kind of astounding knowing, and it can happen like that, or it can take many lifetimes. The choice is yours, and the choice is mine. There's only one life, however, and we're all living it, and we're all living it now. This is status quo now. This is not hidden information anymore. Everybody is speaking the same language. If you think it, so it is. What you think affects your life. What you focus on, you attract. It's common knowledge anymore. And yet, we who have known it for longer than most still find ourselves in lack and limitation. I can only think it's because we're not applying what we know. We're not believing what we know. We're not working with what we know. And we can. We can. It's all in the mind. It's all in the thinking. It's all in the feeling. It's all in the believing. It's all in the knowing. Now, I can make up my mind to know I can come home to myself and be freed and liberated like Thich Nhat Hanh was and say, I have arrived. In Plum Village in France, where Thich Nhat Hanh has his main headquarters, bells ring all the time. So it reminds me of the Angelus bell when I was a child growing up. Churches in Ireland all over the place would ring bells all throughout the day. But the bells that went at 6 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock at noon, 6 o'clock in the evening were the Angelus bells calling us to prayer. Well, when the bells go off in Plum Village, everybody pauses and stops and they say, I have arrived, I have arrived, I have come home, I have come home. And so it pauses them to understand that arriving and coming home is to get present in the moment and to be present in the moment to whatever's going on. So it's a call to presence and mindfulness and thoughtfulness. That's all those bells are saying. But yet they all recite the same thing. I have arrived, I have arrived, I have come home. I have come home. I am in this moment now. I am in this moment now. So who am I in the moment now? Who shows up in the moment now? What am I in the moment now? Am I happy to be who I am in this moment now? Or not? And if I'm not, I change it. I change it. I cop a new attitude. I take on a new attitude. Whatever needs to be, fixed up. gets fixed up in my decision to be fully present in the moment and honor the truth of my being in that. And that's what every religious group does. Every monastery, every nunnery, every meditation center, they have calls throughout the day to pause and come back into the awareness of a greater presence, a fuller presence, and a greater sense of life. And to breathe and to be thankful in the breath that we're breathing, that we are alive to be in the moment and to be a blessing in the moment, to be a light in the moment, to be an upliftment in the moment, to be that which pours itself out in the moment, and that which makes a difference and transforms not only one's own life, but all of life. So I'm asking you, are you willing this week to look at what homecoming is all about on the inside as well as the outside? Yes. Are we willing to set up a beautiful home within ourselves so that we can create the most fantastic homecoming for those who are visiting us this time?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Do you want to clarify anything? No. You're good to go. And so it is.
We invite you to experience Dr. Moira in person on Sundays. Our services are at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and childcare is available. Please join us. If you enjoy these messages and would like to make a donation to our center, please visit our website at redondocsl.org. Thank you for your support of this ministry.